Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I am bringing you my diary entry for the week of May 8th through 14th. So this is basically my reading and crafting vlog in case you're interested. I'm also going to be wrapping up the books that I read in the month of May in these diary entries instead of doing a traditional wrap-up. I've just decided that I wanted to try something different because my wrap-ups lately have been super long. Like 45 minutes to an hour long, and yeah, I don't think a lot of people like to watch wrap-ups that long, so I thought if I broke it down week by week it would just be better. And so since I do talk to you about my progress in books that I read, and I do wrap up a little bit the books that I read during the week, I would just keep the wrap-ups in here, but let me know down in the comments below if you would prefer a separate wrap-up that included everything that I read during the month, because I'd be happy to do that, go back to doing that in the month of June. But this month I just wanted to try something different. But anyway, let's talk about a little bit of what I've been reading. So I had originally thought that I was going to come to this video this week and say that I haven't read anything, because I didn't think that I finished anything, and I completely forgot that I did actually finish something this week, and that was Percy Jackson and the Olympians number 3. This is the Titan's Curse. So this one, Annabeth and Artemis get lost, and so it's up to several of the camp students to find them. Not necessarily Percy, but yeah, we get introduced to the hunters, who are followers of Artemis in this one, and I have to say that I really did not enjoy them. They just got on my nerves. I must be because I'm not of the target audience for this series. Obviously, if I was younger, it probably wouldn't have bothered me as much, because I would be of an age where, you know, the things that the hunters had said about guys would probably be things that I'd be thinking at the time as well. But I don't know. Maybe it's because I was listening to it on audiobook, and the way that they were narrating the hunters were speaking were just kind of whiny. I don't know. I just really didn't enjoy them. This is the first of this reread, because I have read this series before. This is the first installment of this reread where I did not remember hardly anything at all from this book. So it's almost as if I was like reading it for the first time. It was kind of weird. But yeah, I didn't enjoy the hunters. I didn't enjoy how Grover acted around the female characters in general. It just kind of felt like he left Percy out to dry, and like Percy was just not, you know, his like best friend or anything like that. It was really strange, and I did not enjoy how he acted and leaving Percy out and things like that. And so yeah, this was probably my least favorite so far of my reread of this series, and considering I don't remember much of it from when I read it before, that probably says something. So I'm glad I read this one, though. The narration was awesome. I have no complaints about the narrator of this series. I've been really enjoying listening to his narration of these books, so I'm definitely going to continue with that and get to the next one hopefully soon. I am kind of dragging, though, because I do have a lot of other things I still need to read this month, and I only have 2 and some weeks left. This week is also the weekend where I start my reads for the manga club meeting, because we're going to have that on Thursday, this coming Thursday, the 19th. So anyway, this is the only book I finished so far this week, so at least I finished something. And it is a middle grade book, so it's going towards middle grade May, so that's great. But I am not progressing with the horror books that I wanted to read this month, which is kind of not great. I'm not feeling really good about that. So I am in the middle of 2 books right now. I was hoping to finish one, if not both of them this week, but it looks like I should be finishing them next week. And that is Kat Richardson's Grey Walker. This is the first book in the Grey Walker series. This follows a woman who has an experience of dying for 2 minutes, and then when she comes back to life, she can see like gray shadows, and it's like spirits, the spirit world, and she can also like pass into it. So she's kind of just discovering her new abilities right now. She was a bit defiant for a good part of this book. I think I talked to you about this before, where I wasn't yet 100 pages in, and I was just going to get to that 100 pages and see how I felt. Well, shortly after I talked to you about this it started getting really good. Our main character accepted her abilities a bit more, and she's not so defiant about, learning how to use them. And there's been much more progress in the 2 cases that she's working. And so I decided to go ahead and continue with this book, but it's not so fast that I've finished yet. So I am about 75 or so % into this book. I'm on chapter 26, page 267. This book is 352 pages. So I have less than 100 pages. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to finish this book this week. I'm glad that it did finally pick up, though, because for a minute there I was feeling really not great about reading again, and we all know how I've been struggling over the last couple months with reading books that I'm just not enjoying. I can't say that this is going to definitively be a 4-star read, though, by the end of this. I think that's what I had rated it the first time I read it, but we'll have to see. But this is one of the books I need to finish in May for my TBR game, so doing good progress with that. I am also 75% into the Haunted Forest Tour, which is by, let me pull up a webpage here, James A. Moore and Jeff Strand. So I'm reading this from Kindle Unlimited. I'm actually listening to a majority of it. I borrowed a copy from Hoopla. This one is kind of like Jurassic Park, where we've got a tour that's like tour buses on a track going through this haunted forest, and there are all kinds of creatures. So this forest just pops up like over the time span of like a couple hours, I think. At the very beginning of this book, we read about how the forest came into existence. And then there's a time jump, and then we follow a whole bunch of different characters taking this like special celebratory tour. And the bus that they're in kind of loses power, and then the creatures attack. And so there's a lot of gore. It's a bit like Attack on Titan if you've watched the anime or read the manga, where there are graphic depictions of people getting eaten or pulled apart. And so, yeah, it's just a really interesting story, but there's not a lot of substance. This is more like for the shock factor, I feel. There's just a lot of animals eating humans and creatures and things like that. Right now I'm at a section where one of our characters has been abducted by a very large creature, and he's actually on the tour with his mom. So his mom has just found out that he's been abducted, but he's an adult, so his mom is like on the elderly side, and she's with another group of people, and they're not sure if he's dead or alive. But we know that he's alive because we're seeing his interactions with another creature. And there's just a variety of different types of creatures in this forest. It's really interesting how there's such a variety of creatures that I didn't expect that there to be so many. And yeah, so I'm not really enjoying the fact that we're jumping back and forth between a million different characters, because I don't really enjoy multiple POV stories. But because this is basically a survival story, we're following these people trying to survive this forest. And then we're also seeing, the people who work for the company that does these tours and how they're trying to deal with the situation and what they're finding out about what happened to this tour bus and things like that. And so, yeah, it's entertaining for sure, but I can only take so much at a time because there's a lot of gore. And there's a lot of the male characters in here that are constantly thinking about sex. I do not enjoy that. And I'm sorry if you're running for your life and trying to not to get eaten. That is not a top priority to me. We've had at least 3 or 4 different male characters only talking about the fact that they want to bang one of these ladies that is around them. And I'm just like, dude, this is not the time nor the place. But, that might just be me. This book is obviously written by 2 men. So, I don't know. Is that something that they'd be thinking about at a time like that? I don't know. But I'm not enjoying it. And we're just getting it from all different angles. We're getting it from people who are trying to run for their lives. We're getting it from people who work for the company who are just trying to save, these people and trying to, one, figure out what the heck's going on and then try to rectify the situation. But from pretty much the get-go of this story, it's been like that, where we've had a male character thinking about a woman that he works with or a woman that's on the tour with them and just thinking about banging them. And I'm just like, dude, I don't need to hear about that. Seriously? And this type of story is not the type of story that, to me, needs that kind of stuff in it. I'm more interested in, our mother and son who are on this tour who are now separated. And the mother, is she ever going to see her son alive again? Is she going to survive this? We've got a family with little kids. And there are other, couples and families that are on this tour. There's also a guy who is talking about his mistress. He's got a wife at home, but he's talking about his mistress. And it's just yeah. There are things in this that I really, really dislike. But if I think about this as a story that's just a survival type story where we have a bunch of people who are running away and trying to survive this forest, then it's okay for me. So, yeah, I think for the most part, because I've been listening to this on audiobook as well, those things bother me a lot more because I'm not really able to fast forward through them. I am listening on Hoopla, and as we all know, Hoopla doesn't have chapter markers and things like that. It's very hard to jump back and forth between reading text and listening on Hoopla because there's no chapter markers. So sometimes I have found, as I've been listening to this, that I kind of zone out and I end up at the end of the day thinking, what happened today in that section that I listened to? So then I go back to my Kindle book because I did borrow a copy from Kindle Unlimited, and I go back through the pages that I listened to, and that's kind of odd for me. That usually never happens. If I'm listening to something, I'm in it. I remember everything. It's even more vivid to me than if I read it because the narration usually plays a big part of me enjoying an audiobook. That's why I listen to it, is to have that presentation. But yeah, I found that there have been a couple times now where I have listened to the book during my lunch break, because that's usually when I listen to audiobooks, is during my lunch break. But I'll be listening, and then at the end of my lunch break, I won't be able to recall what just happened in the section that I listened to. So that's been very odd for me. So, yeah. It's entertaining for sure, but there are definitely things that are bothering me about this. But I'm about 75% in, so I've only got a little bit left to go. I should finish this one this week. But that's pretty much everything that I've been reading. I am going to have to visit the office this week. I thought I was going to have to go this past week, but that's gotten pushed to next week. So I'm definitely going to the office this coming week. So maybe we'll get an out and about. Like I said, we also have the manga club meeting on the 19th, so we'll definitely be out and about then. Though, I don't know, maybe I'll take the camera to the store and we'll do a little bit more manga shopping. I didn't film too much the last time because I didn't really pick up anything extra. Normally, as far as manga shopping goes, I have my month planned purchase list, which I put in the order at the beginning of the month, and then during the manga club meeting, or after, we'll go browse the manga section, and then I'll usually end up with a separate stack. But that just didn't happen for me this time, so yeah. I do have to pick up a book, though, for Whatever-thon, which I plan on participating in June. There is a recently hauled prompt on the bingo board, and even though I'm trying to read everything or as much as possible off my e-reader, because I'm also participating in Read Your E-Reader, which is being hosted by Janie over at Bookworms Buddy. I might have a browse and see if anything catches my interest at the store while we're there for the meeting. But yeah, that's pretty much everything as far as books and what I've been reading goes. I have actually picked up a little bit of knitting this week, so we have a little bit of knitting content, which is great. It hasn't been recently that I've picked up knitting in a while. But I'm trying to re-inspire myself. So I think I mentioned before, my daughter is graduating from college soon. And so I thought I'd knit her a pair of socks that she can wear when she walks. And so that I did start that. So it's in here. This is my Labyrinth bag. So you can see all of the Labyrinth characters. My mom made me this bag. And so inside here is her sock, or a partial sock. So she decided she would like this one, the Lana Grossa tweed. This is 80% wool, 20% polyamide. And the color on this is 112. I believe that is correct. So it's really, really pretty. It's got nice colors of tweed in there. And then she decided on the Dunbrock socks by Kay from the Bakery Bears podcast. I am a Bakery Bears patron. This is not one of the patron-only patterns, but I did purchase this one. And so this is what I've got so far. So I've got the ribbing, and I did modify a little bit because the Dunbrock socks actually have a fold-over ribbing, and so I didn't do the fold-over. Just did the regular 15 rounds of 2x2 ribbing that I normally do, and then there's a little braided cable right there, and then there's some broken 2x2 rib, and then the back side of the sock is broken 2x2 rib. And so, yeah, it's a bit dark for this type of pattern, but she says it was okay. I mean, you can still see it, but yeah. I really like this. I think the tweed is super cute. I ended up doing 2 repeats last night while we were watching 10.0 Earthquake on Hulu. It's a disaster movie. It was done in 2014, so it's an old one. But yeah, I was able to do 2 repeats, and so far so good. I think I'm going to be doing 8 repeats for the length of her sock. So I think that's what we're going to do. But at least I've knit something. We're going to be doing contrast heels and toes. She decided she wanted red for her contrast heels and toes. So I'm going to be using this Arwetta Classic, or Filcolana Arwetta Classic, 80% superwash merino wool, 20% nylon, and the color 139. So I think that should look nice together, huh? So that is one thing that I have cast on this week. So much more knitting than I have done in the most recent past. I have also cast on something else. So this is for me. I got this bag off of Etsy. So I had to have it because it's got dinosaurs on it. But inside here is a patron-only pattern from the Baker Bears. So they normally do a summer knit along. And this year it's a little bit different. They're doing a stitch along. So they're doing some embroidery, I think. So we're venturing out a little bit. I'm not going to participate in the embroidery because I don't like needles that can draw blood. That's just me. I've never enjoyed the needles that draw blood because every time I would try to do cross stitch, because my mom and my grandma did cross stitch a lot when I was younger, and they would even go to craft fairs and things. But when I tried to pick it up, I constantly poked my finger. And I'm not all about that. So, yeah, I don't like medical needles either. So, needles that draw blood are not for me. So, I won't be doing the embroidery. But we're doing a kind of a take on her vanilla sock pattern. So, all of the patrons got her vanilla sock pattern, which is called the Vanilla Cream Socks. And she, for the patrons, have put in a lace panel. So this is actually not available to purchase. It's just for patrons, and she's doing it as a video tutorial series. So every week we get a little bit. And this is called her Moonstruck sock. So like I said, it's her vanilla sock pattern. And she's just putting in a lace panel. So you can see it kind of looks like a moon, the lace. So I've only done 1 repeat. I will do 3 repeats of this lace pattern before I put in my heel. So this is about as much as I've gotten. There is a contrast cuff, heel, and toes on this. And so I decided to use a skein of yarn that I had a partial of. So this is what I'm using for the cuff. This is onion nettle yarn. So I actually use that one for another cabled sock that I had done. The Weatherby socks by Ramona. I'll put it here. She has a YouTube channel and I test knit that one for her. This is the onion nettle sock yarn in the color 1017. So they come in these little like buns, and so it's onion nettle sock yarn. It is 70% wool and 30% nettle fibers, and so that's what I'm using for my cuff, heels, and toes. And then for the main body of the yarn, I'm actually using this. So this is a skein of December Dreams. I actually won this yarn from Kay, from the Baker Bears podcast, a couple Christmases ago. So they had like a question of the day or something during their Christmas season. And The question actually had to do something with the Three Amigos movie, you know, with Steve Martin, Martin Short. My dad was a big fan of that movie and still is to this day, but we would watch it when we were younger, and there was actually a question about that movie. And so I answered the question and was among, you know, several people who did, and actually was the person to win the drawing. And so I won this skein. This was hand dyed by Kay from the Baker Bears. And so I thought this would be perfect since it's her pattern. And it seemed to be of the type of yarn that would work well for this design. And so that's what I'm using, December Dreams. And I think it actually looks really good. It's almost a little stripy. Let me see. Here we go. But it's just a very soft pink and blue. And I really like that. So I was a little bit concerned when I started to see the stripes come up on the other side. But I think it looks okay. Let me know what you think. When I'm doing that on the, I don't remember what these are called, but these are the Addy squared flexible double pointed needles. I really, really like them because the needles are much longer. There are a lot more to hold on to. And I find that with the flexible double points, it's really hard for me when there's not a lot of needle to hold on to, and it exacerbates my hand pain. So this is coming out nicely. As you can see, I've only done one repeat. I'm falling behind on this as well, but I'm just trying to fall back in love with knitting. I haven't knit in a really long time, and when I do knit, I just do like a row or two on the top that I have, one of the tops that I have on the needles, and then I just get uninspired and I put it away, or I pull it out really late at night, and you know, I only have time to do one row or two, and so I kind of lost my mojo, but I'm trying to get it back. And so yeah, it's been a while since I finished something too, because I've only been working on large projects. It takes a while to finish something, and with me not knitting, that doesn't put any progress on your project, right? So yeah, I'm just trying to get my mojo back. I thought by participating in a knit along, that would help, and then, you know, having the motivation of trying to knit something congratulatory for my daughter would also help. So I've got those two motivations for me, and hopefully that'll reignite my love of knitting. So other than that, I do have a little bit of yarn to share. I've been so lax at sharing because I haven't filmed a video for my knitting channel in a while, because I only like to film videos there when I finish something. And since I haven't finished anything, I didn't want to keep filming videos talking about the same projects and, oh, I've only put in 2 rows on this. I don't think people are interested in watching an episode like that every month. So I want to have something finished before I do my next knitting podcast. But since I do these diary entries here, and they are a crafting vlog as well, I thought I'd share these with you. So this is my Anne of Green Gables Yarn Club for February, because I forgot to share. I have my yarn club for April coming. I've got a shipping confirmation. I already know what the color is, and I know what the name of the skein is, but it hasn't gotten to me yet. So I thought I'd share this one while we wait. This is a yarn club that's done by Little Skein in the Big Wool. She has a bi-monthly Anne of Green Gables inspired yarn club. So it's called the Kindred Spirits Yarn Club. And I have been a member of that yarn club for over a year now, I think. And yeah, I've just really enjoyed seeing her colors and getting a new skein every couple months, and then hearing about her inspiration for why she chose the colors, and what scene inspired that colorway and things like that. It's just been really fun, and I've really enjoyed being part of this yarn club. But she has changed her base recently, so now it's a cashmere merino nylon base, whereas before it was just a wool nylon base. So the skeins are a little bit more luxurious. It also is a little bit more expensive, but that's okay. But I am absolutely in love with this skein. So if you know me, you will see why. This is the skein for February. Is that not me? Is it not me? Oh my gosh. When I opened this, I was like, I was so happy. Okay, so this one is called Windy Poplars. And so this was actually the last Anne of Green Gables book that I finished. And to be honest, I wasn't really happy with that book. To me, Anne seemed to have changed so much in that book that it wasn't even Anne to me. The things that she was saying and how she was acting, it's like, wait a minute, who are you? Anyway, so I kind of put a pause on my read of this series because I haven't actually read through this series in its entirety ever in my lifetime, but it is something that I want to do. But anyway, I absolutely love the Sullivan Entertainment live action adaptation of Anne of Green Gables. And so that is the thing that always keeps me coming back to Anne. And it's something that I watch all the time. But I absolutely love this color, and I can't wait to use it. I could have totally used this for the Moonstruck socks, because it is the right type of yarn. It's a tonal with just little specks of color. But I'm going to have to find something. Maybe I'll make myself a pair of Dunbrock socks. The Dunbrock socks that I'm making for my daughter, that was actually inspired by Merida, the Disney princess from the movie Brave. So, yeah, it's been one that I've been wanting to make for myself for a while. But we'll see. But that is my February yarn club. And then I also purchased from another yarn club, but I don't have to be a member of it to purchase. So this is the Anime Yarn Club from Hawari Bazaar. And so every month she has an anime-inspired yarn that she dyes. And then I always get the sock set because I will usually make a pair of socks for myself and my daughter out of one skein of yarn. So this was the April club. And I don't buy all of the clubs. I only buy ones that I'm familiar with. So like the May Club, we decided to skip because I wasn't familiar with the anime for that. But this one, we are familiar. So Anime's Yarn Club was One Piece. So this is the colors that she used. And I think that's very interesting. I wasn't expecting it to look like this. It's got a lot more brown than I thought, but that makes sense because Luffy's hat is brown. But yeah, it's just really pretty. And when these colorways come in, it's always something unexpected. Like, I can sometimes guess which colors are going to be in the skein because she does provide like an inspo picture when she puts the listing up, but I still am wrong most of the time. This one was one that I was definitely wrong most of the time, and of course because I got the mini, it came with a coordinating skein for cuffs, heels, and toes, or just heels and toes. I normally don't do coordinating cuffs. I will just normally do a heel and toe. But yes, very happy with this one as well. I have several skeins of different animes that I have not yet knit up, so I do need to get on that. But yeah, that is pretty much everything that has happened so far this week. Yesterday was kind of a bust because I'm trying to learn how to stream or capture some video gameplay. There's a mystery video game that just came out that I'm really interested in playing, and I thought it might be something interesting for the channel because it's a mystery game. So it's very much my brand since I read so many mystery books and talk about so many mystery books on my channel. And of course, I've been a host of March Mystery Madness for a while, and so I thought that I could share some of the gameplay with you, but it took me 5 hours to figure out how I could get it so that my daughter could also commentate on the gameplay with me, because a lot of times when I play mystery games, I, will be sitting in the living room with her and we'll talk things out. So like when we played Sherlock Holmes, that's what we did. We've also played a couple of other mystery games. We played like 3 different Sherlock Holmes games, I think. And so I thought it might be interesting for you to watch a play with me. So that's what I wanted to do, but yesterday was scrapped because it took all day for me to figure out how to get her commentary on the recording at a reasonable sound level. It was very bad. And sometimes I think I'm too old to learn new tricks. But we've got it now. So hopefully sometime in the near future, we'll be able to sit down and film some gameplay, because I think it might be interesting for you. I don't know how soon I'll post that stuff, though, because the publisher has asked that nobody post gameplays or things like that because they don't want spoilers and they want as many people to play it, And so, I don't know. I don't know how that whole gaming world works. I don't know what an appropriate amount of time to wait before posting gameplay like that, when the publisher specifically asked to not post gameplays. They didn't say it wasn't allowed, but they did ask, so I do want to try to be respectful of their wishes. But yeah, I don't know how long I should wait before it's acceptable to put up content like that. So yeah, if you're familiar with the gaming world, please let me know down in the comments below what the etiquette is on things like that, because I do not know. And I would love to know. But in the meantime, I will be trying to record some gameplay. And yeah, so that's everything. Let me know down in the comments below what you've read this week, or if you worked on a special project. Did you have a favorite read of the week, or did you DNF something? Let me know. I'd love to know. And let me know if you've already got plans for June read-alongs, because obviously I do. And I do feel like I've been participating in a readathon every month, and I don't know that that's such a good thing with how my reading's been going, but sometimes I just need that motivation to keep me reading, because otherwise I think I'll stop. And that's not good, because I don't want to stop reading. Definitely want to continue to read. So, yeah, let me know what your most favorite book of the week was. Let me know if you've DNF'd anything. Let me know what readathons you're going to be participating in June, if you already know. If nothing else, you would just like to let me know that you were here. If you could leave me a moon emoji down in the comments below for the Moonstruck socks, that would be greatly appreciated and will really help me out, and that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you are all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye!